Hafa and good evening. You're watching PNC News First. We are live from the broadcast center at Acanta. I'm Jolene Tovis. Thanks for tuning in. Topping our newscast tonight, more students are being considered for expulsion due to the recent riots in 2 public schools, Guam Department of Education Superintendent John Fernandez said. In an interview with Andrea Pellicani on News Talk K57, Fernandez said up to 20 students can face disciplinary action and be recommended for expulsion. 13 students have so far been expelled because of their participation in the recent public school riots. While every child is entitled to an education, Fernandez said expulsion is allowed through statute if there is a compelling reason to do so. He said details for expulsion can be found in GDOE's standard operating procedures, which lists tier of offenses from minor offenses to serious ones like bringing firearms and violent behavior.
I think we expect about 20 students to be going through at least somewhere around that number, to be going through the DAC, the Disciplinary Advisory Committee process, and possibly recommended for expulsion. So when we were asked to update, I think we said there were 13 who were officially expelled, and that there were also students who were still coming through the process. And I think the expulsion process indicates that while every child is entitled to that education, there are some certain circumstances where expulsion is allowed, and that's allowed through Guam statute. And it's a process that we have incorporated and outlined in detail in our standard operating procedures.
Fernandez said the students involved in the JFK and Teton High riots were disciplined in accordance with GDOE rules and regulations. In other news, for the first time in almost a decade, members of the Veterans Affairs Congressional Delegation will be visiting Guam to discuss issues affecting veterans on the island in a town hall meeting led by Congressman Michael Nicholas. The discussion will revolve around the challenges to veteran services on the island, and joining the event will be Mark Takano, the chairman of the Veterans Affairs Committee, and decorated veteran John Ananich II. For those who are interested, the town hall meeting is open to the public and will be ongoing tonight from 5:30 p.m. to 7 p.m. at the Government House in Agana Heights. Well over $20 million, according to Speaker Tina Munoz Barnes, has been set aside in the World War II war claims account. But the longer it sits, the more money is lost. Here's the report. The U.S. House of Representatives Committee on Natural Resources in its report says, quote, H.R. 1365 makes technical corrections to the Guam World War II Loyalty Recognition Act to address the insufficiency of the language in the original law that prevents the release of available funds that are being set aside to pay Guam World War II survivor claims, end quote. Speaker Tina Munoz Barnes says, quote, the bill passed in Congress intended to use Section 30 monies to pay off war claims. Section 30 monies, to those that are unfamiliar, is our money anyways that has been taken out of our schools, hospitals, and public safety, put aside in an account in the Treasury, and instead of accruing interest like any bank would when they hold on to your money, pursuant to Public Law 114-328, also known as the Guam World War II Loyalty Recognition Act, Section 1703, subsection E, we are paying the Treasury to hold on to Guam's money at 5% each fiscal year. This will continue to be deducted until a technical correction is made and the last survivor is paid, end quote. With well over $20 million in the account already, on the low end, that's roughly $1.2 million a year paid to the Treasury. While the federal government is getting a cut of the war claims, war survivors haven't seen a dime due to the faulty language contained in the Guam World War II Loyalty Recognition Act of 2016, hanging up the release of the funds. At this time, H.R. 1365 has been before the U.S. Senate since July 25th. It was read twice and then referred to the Committee on the Judiciary. If passed, it will then go to the President for his approval and signature for passage into law. According to a prediction by Scopus Labs on the govtrack.us website, H.R. 1365 has a 22% chance of being enacted. The prognosis considered the, quote, overall text of the bill does little to affect its chances of being enacted. Although this bill has a low chance of enactment, there is one provision within this bill that the provision-level textual analysis considers likely to be enacted. There are often multiple bills with the same legal provisions within them. The bill's primary sponsor is a Democrat. The bill is assigned to the Senate Judiciary Committee. The bill's primary subject is armed forces and national security, end quote. Scopus Labs further indicates that the factors are based on correlations, which may not indicate causation. Taking a look at crime, a man who took a plea deal with the government, convicting him of aggravated assault as a second-degree felony, was handed down a sentence for the crime. Kempo Datas walked into court Wednesday morning with a smile on his face, despite what Superior Court Judge Vernon Perez described as a tremendous sentence. The prosecution had requested for Datas to be sentenced to 10 years incarceration. However, he will only serve 8 years and 6 months as a result of the plea deal with the government. Judge Perez stated, quote, "This matter did not go to trial. Datas made admissions. There might have been some information which could have helped the case. The case has tremendous allegations of burn marks, use of golf clubs. The victim had to endure assaults. Really presents as mean and cruel," end quote. Judge Perez, in handing down the 8.5-year sentence, indicated that, quote, "It's challenging for me to believe in an instance you would not likely engage in action again," end quote. He further stated that he understands how people lose control in certain situations, but this was a loss of control over an extended period of time in which the victim received and endured severe injury. Datas was originally charged with abducting and sexually assaulting his ex-girlfriend in 2018. The plea deal resulted in charges of kidnapping, first and second, third-degree criminal sexual conduct, second-degree robbery, and terrorizing charges being dismissed. As part of the sentence, Datas will be ordered to pay restitution in the amount of $9,800 and will also be placed on 3 years of parole following the completion of his incarceration. A traffic stop led to the arrest of a man wanted for robbery. GPD spokesman Sergeant Paul Tapau says that the robbery occurred on September 23rd in Barragata. Details of the robbery were not disclosed. However, Vincent Peter Perez was identified in a photo lineup by the robbery victim as the person responsible for the crime. This resulted in an all-points bulletin being issued to locate Perez, but it wasn't until police effectuated a traffic stop that they got their man. He was subsequently brought to GPD's Criminal Investigations Division for questioning and arrested on Thursday. Perez was arrested for the following offenses: robbery, terrorizing, theft of property, and an outstanding bench warrant. He was booked and confined. Don't go away. On the other side of the break, we'll look at the groundbreaking ceremony for GCC's DNA Forensic Lab, the parade of sirens for Fire Prevention Week, and other stories.